We are going to be filming the talk as well, so just be advised that this is live streaming. So Heather, if you are not familiar yet, is an artist from New York, part of a family of artist educators. And Heather says that a lot of her creativity has come from that source. Heather holds a Bachelor in Science degree from State University of New Paltz, New York. And if you'd like to say anything else about significant parts of your education that have influenced this show as well, feel welcome to jump in.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of different degrees, and honestly, I'm not finished. My dream is to retire and go back to graduate school. So I have a bachelor's in visual arts. I also have a degree from FIT in textile print design, and also a degree in art education from Brooklyn College, K through 12. So, but I don't want to interrupt you. Please.
A lot of your focus in this show, you have said, is in regards to global unity. So we'll be focusing on that. I would like to start with this piece, War and Peace in the Time of COVID. You do focus not only in this piece, but in the entire show on race, gender, morality, sexual identity. We've lived through some tensions surrounding these themes, especially during peak pandemic. Did these issues influence this piece? Is the show informed by any other historical genres or topics? And then does the theme of the Shahnameh run through all the work in the show, or are you highlighting specific tales within the epic?
Okay, that's a really grand question. There's a lot to answer, and I'll try to break it down. Yeah, James came. James?
Right here.
Yeah, okay. He came to my studio 3 years ago, and this work evolved during the pandemic when we were all traumatized by what was going on in the United States, politically and socially. It was a very rude awakening in trying to find peace, to try to find out how we can survive. And so this piece evolved out of many hours, more than 15 hand-painted vignettes. And a lot of my work starts, actually all my work, the 2D work starts with painting in my studio. And this was 3 years worth of painting. I don't have all the vignettes on the wall here, but there were more than 15 different paintings that I was painting during this period. And for me, my art has always been a form of affirmation and therapy, and my creative life is really what's always propelled me forward. So during this time, I was doing all of these different paintings, and I love to research history. And I was especially enamored with the story of Shahnameh, which it was written in the 10th century. It's an epic poem written by Ferdowsi. And it's a kind of historic catalog of the history of Iran, but it also includes mythological tales and morality tales about good versus evil, about heroic acts. And I don't know why, but it just seemed to really resonate with me during all of this period of strife, what it is to be human and to overcome obstacles, good versus evil. So I started looking at a lot of the illustrated manuscripts, Persian illustrated manuscripts, but a lot of the visual iconography it's not only that story, it's also, I'm looking at South Asian art, Japanese art from the Edo period. I was looking at Mongol manuscript painting. And for me, although the contemporary world obviously has an influence on me, my source of visual inspiration has always been a global history. So that's my place where I can find common denominators in terms of awareness of being human, of what it is to find oneself, to express one's eroticism, to think about overcoming violence, to find and appreciate the sanctity of life. And so for me, when I look at my visual research, I'm constantly recontextualizing all these different images from different cultures across time, mainly from like the 10th century to the end of the 17th century for Persian and South Asian art, and finding a way to tell a story that is relevant. And so these are really composites of different images across time, and I wanted to express an affirmation of life, of talking about what is sacred and beautiful, but I also wanted to express the paradoxes that exist in the world between what it is to find wholeness and to really appreciate beauty. So ultimately, I wanted to create a landscape, and a very otherworldly landscape that was surreal, but would speak to everyone. And if you look closely at the work, you will notice that there are COVID flowers blooming everywhere throughout the narrative. And that was my way of kind of speaking to, how, talking about what the pandemic was, how invasive it was, what it meant to all of us. I wanted to also talk about how important nature is. That for me, I go for a daily walk 3 hours a day on Kinwood Trail. And I grew up in New York City, but I went to Maine every summer as a kid. And for me, nature is sacred. And so within this complex reference to all these different global cultures, I also wanted to speak to the sanctity of nature. And what I hope with this piece, it's a huge piece, but what I hope is that you can appreciate it and take a closer look at all the different stories that are happening within the work. There's a lot of little hidden things going on in the narrative that have to do with the cycles of life. And I feel like in my life, I'm always walking that walk between understanding how to transcend some of the physical pain I might feel or the anxieties I might feel, but at the same time appreciating and loving the world that I live in.